In this video, I'm going to be showing you a brush embroidery technique. It looks really complicated, but it's actually quite simple, and all you need is an outline consistency white royal icing. We're going to be placing dots of this royal icing onto the cookie, and then using a small food-safe paintbrush to brush those dots into a brush embroidery design onto the cookie. It's going to give it a really beautiful, whimsical, natural snowflake look. So as you can see, I'm starting with one dot at the top of that snowflake. And each dot that we pipe here just needs to be about a pea-sized amount. We're using a toothpaste consistency icing here, similar to what you would outline a cookie with, so it should be really easy to control. Now let's talk about your paintbrush for a moment. When we're using paintbrushes to decorate cookies, you always want to make sure you're using a food-safe paintbrush. How do you know if it's food safe? Well, it should say it on the package, and something that can be purchased from Amazon or Michael's or another local craft store where it's really designated that this is made to be used on food. Make sure you're cleaning your brushes properly after use so the bristles stay nice and soft. And I also recommend purchasing a multi-pack of brushes. That way you'll always have the type of brush that you require on hand and something that can be easily accessible to you. Here I chose a small short bristle brush in order to achieve the look that I was hoping to create in this design, but you could also do larger dots on this and use a larger brush. I also don't want you to worry about making each one exactly uniform. That's kind of the beauty of this design, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be completely uniform. With designs like this, it's way less about precision and more about the artistic quality of the design. So with that said, I really want you to take your time and enjoy this process, because this is the true artwork of decorating cookies with royal icing. This is perfect for beginners. It can be quite therapeutic to take your time with a design and see the ultimate result, which is going to be beautiful, believe me. I want you to take your time, but I also want you to be aware of the fact that because we are using outline consistency icing, it is going to dry a little bit quicker than if we were using a flood consistency. And you'll see once we get to the end of this, I am going to be using some sanding sugar to sprinkle on top of the cookie. We want it to have that realistic snowflake effect, so giving it that little bit of shimmer with the sanding sugar is going to be really effective in allowing us to achieve that. So I want you to take your time, but I also don't want you to stop and walk away midpoint. I want you to complete this entire design in one sitting, because we want the icing to not be completely dry. That way that sanding sugar will adhere. Speaking of which, you may be wondering, what is sanding sugar? Sanding sugar is a sugar that has a shimmer or sparkle to it that can be purchased, again, Amazon, your local Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and it's definitely going to add just that extra element of specialness to this cookie. So as we're finishing out the last little bit of our design here for the outside of this snowflake, what you'll see is that we have pretty much covered about 75% of this cookie with what we've done so far. After I finish this last section of the snowflake, whoops, didn't mean to put that one in there. See, even professionals make mistakes. After I finish this last little section here, you'll see that there's just the middle section remaining. And this is so satisfying that all these little dots have created this just beautiful design. I mean, we really are creating edible art. Now that we've completed what I like to call phase 1, phase 2 is going to be piping that middle section of the snowflake. So here I'm just going to pipe those pea-sized amounts, equidistant of each other in a circular pattern. Brush those circles into the center of the cookie. And I'm hoping we'll get 2 full circles before we reach that middle section. Again, all of this should give that layered kind of look to it. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of free space on this cookie that is not touched with some level of thickness of the icing. So I'm just continuing that pattern. As my circle got smaller, I piped my second layer of that circular pattern of dots in between each previous dot. And then once we reach the middle, we're going to leave a single dot of a pea-sized amount of icing. Here comes in that sanding sugar. I'm just grabbed a clean plate and I'm sprinkling the white sanding sugar on top of that design. And there you have it, the most beautiful snowflake cookie you have ever seen and totally doable.